the guy ends up getting nominated to be HHS secretary. You've seen uphand how he lies and manipulates people. You've seen it firsthand. You have evidence. He's getting nominated. And you write in the book, you were praying that God would use him as a force for good. I mean, by that point, it was pretty obvious that God was not going to use him as a force for good, was it not?
But you still pray.
Well, but there was no, it wasn't like I was praying that he was going to use him for force for good, ... parentheses, but I knew he was not because he's a lying son of a bitch. Could you have prayed for good, but also tried to stop it?
What are you asking me exactly?
You could have come forward and gone public. I'm not confident it would have stopped it, but maybe. It was revealed that she helped RFK squash negative press. She had contacts with people in the media and was actively helping to suppress negative stories about him, like during their affair.
You know, I was terrified of the man I did not marry, and I was very worried about people knowing where I was. And
I'm sorry.
Tim's like, oh shit.
pause this. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we can pause it.
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
All right, let's get to the Tim Miller situation. We'll skip ahead quite a bit. Tim Miller interviewed Olivia Nuzzi. I don't know how to say that name.
Nice.
Who is a journalist who had an affair with RFK, and he legitimately made her cry. That's all I know about this. Journalist that was covering RFK Jr. in 2024. They began an affair, got weird. And now I think they wrote a book about that situation or an article about it. I don't know what happened there.
I can understand like being in your shoes. I've been in not your shoes, Lord knows, but
If you want, you can borrow them.
I could, I might. But firestorms, and it becomes, that is reality distorting, right? People are shitting on you. And I think that there are people out there that just want to hear every prurient detail of your life. There are people out there that want to see you fail. There are people out there that are mad at you for various things. And I can understand how one might jumble that with I think that there are people out there that are legitimately enraged about Bobby because he has they view his views on vaccine as resulting in childhood deaths. We have, since he's been in there, we've gotten rid of USAID. He's canceled funding for mNRA research. He's purged expert scientists from the government, massive cuts to NIH research. There are people that look at him and see him as a monster. And so I'm trying to channel the frustration that they might have that you would say, well, I have other information, that I'm not going to do a tell-all about everything about him.
Well, but I shared everything that I felt I responsibly could share, right? And I also, in this book, right, in this context, I told the most honest story that I could possibly tell. And I don't think it's hard to have this conversation in public. It's because it's just, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. For instance, the person I write about is the man I did not marry, right?
I hate it when people say right a lot, like they're having a conversation, right? Doing a thing, and I'm talking about a thing, and there's a tree over there, right? Yeah. It always feels so condescending. I do not do that. There's no way. Listen to how compulsive it is for her. She says it every other sentence.
Can we just say this for people? Do you want me just to say it? Or should we just leave it like that?
It's your show.
I think we're talking about Ryan. She's referring, for folks who are trying to follow the character, she's referring to Ryan Lissa, who's writing about this.
But he has presented his harassment of me, right, in this humiliation campaign as some sort of crusade that's in the public interest, right? That somehow
right.
The country will be saved by him writing some combination of fan fiction and revenge porn, right? And he alluded to or claimed that he was in possession of some explosive information somehow from me, unclear, that related to the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And
sick,
right? I was just thinking, let's say if that were true, it's not true, by the way, but if that were true, the only responsible way for him to handle that information as a journalist, he would know this, would be to quietly pass it off to an organization that does not have his conflicts, right? Because his conflicts make it so that that information could be readily dismissed, right? Or that it is tainted by the context that that information would appear in, which would be this campaign of vengeance, right? This kind of suicide bombers manifesto.
It's too much. There's, you know, you can't unhear it. You can't unhear it. It is literally every other sentence. She finds a way to go, right. And it's like, I don't like feeling like you're guiding me along, you know? It is a pet peeve of mine and it drives me insane.
That he's been publishing. That to me tells you all you need to know about whether or not there is serious information in the public interest that he is in possession of that's going.
So Ryan Lizza is another journalist that was dating her, and I don't remember if they were dating at the time that she had this affair with RFK, but now Ryan Lizza is doing these Substack posts that are getting a ton of traffic, and he's kind of spilling the beans about what she said about RFK. And there was some kind of allusion to Olivia herself, or somebody that she was a source for her, was in close proximity to Donald Trump. And Ryan Lizza claims that they heard Donald Trump say something about the Butler shooting that would shatter people's understanding of what happened. And many people understood that to mean that it was a piece of glass that shattered and nicked Donald Trump's ear. That was the thing that caused the bleed, which is something that people have been speculating about basically this entire time. Oh, they were engaged. Jesus. Okay. And I guess she, in this moment, is pushing back and saying that there's no truth to that.
Going to be explosive, right? Because it would not be responsible to reveal it that way, right? And so I think it's tough to talk about because you've got to make different calculations about different types of information. I shared in this book what I thought was mine to share, what related to my experience, what I felt that I could state for certain, and what I felt related to this broader story about the distortion of reality amid Trump's rise, and the distortion of my reality, right? And I think it's worth people's time. You know, if people want to talk about their ideas about the book, or what their ideas about the author, or their ideas about what the book should have been instead, that's up to anyone who wants to do that. I'm not going to tell anyone how to think or feel about anything, but that's not, my hope is that the actual book that I wrote will be assessed on its merits.
Yeah, I just for the record found what he did by trying to tease for subscriptions the notion that you had some secret information about a conspiracy related to the Butler shooting in order to get Blue Anon people to sign up, to be really, really gross.
Among other grotesque things.
There have been others, but yeah, that one in particular got my goat. The point that you make though, like, why doesn't he hand over information to a neutral reporter? I think that would be a fair question people would ask of you, like particularly not less now, but the book, like during that period between when RFK endorsed Trump and the election. Like, in theory, there could have been time you could have.
Well, you have no idea what I did or didn't do, first of all. But you.
Well, why don't you tell us?
But in that period, that was at the end of August, right, of 2024. Yeah. By this next month is sort of, I mean, I write about it in the book, but the next month is sort of spent with my world cracking up, right? And then with this scandal breaking out in public, and then with me fearing for my life, my privacy, and fleeing and then ending up out here and spending this year trying to lay low and think and write. So
I hear you, Olivia, and I just like, this is just with love, but like the guy ends up getting nominated to be HHS secretary. You've seen up hand how he lies and manipulates people. You've seen it firsthand. You have evidence. Mm-hmm. He's getting nominated, and you write in the book that like you were praying that God would use him as a force for good. Mm-hmm. It's like, I mean, by that point, it was pretty obvious that God was not going to use him as a force for good, was it not?
You still pray.
Well, but there was no, it wasn't like I was praying that he was going to use them for force for good, ... parentheses, but I knew he was not because he's a lying son of a bitch who is like perpetrating a fraud on the public. Like that wasn't in there. That part wasn't in there. So like, do you see it clear? But like, so you could have done something to try to, well, but could you have prayed for good, but also tried to stop it? You could have tried to stop it.
What are you asking me exactly?
I mean, again,
you could have come forward and gone public. I'm not confident it would have stopped it, but maybe, Matt Gaetz was prevented from becoming the attorney general. So, maybe it would have stopped him. His confirmation, I think, was a little bit tougher than the others. Like there was a kind of open question if he was going to actually get out of committee. If his nomination would actually get out of committee. And, maybe if she would have come forward with some of her stories about him that might have, honestly, there would have been a decent chance she could have helped to stop him from becoming HHS secretary. Yeah, I would say so.
He was trashing you. Mm-hmm. He's being nominated to be HHS secretary. His reign, I think, as you said in the newsletter today, you agree with, has not been good. You had information that you could have shared. Look, Matt Gaetz got denied. It's possible. RFK wasn't even a Republican. It's possible that these senators could have not, confirmed him, and you didn't share anything about him. Why? Why? Did you still love him, or was it just?
I don't know how to responsibly handle this on camera with you here. I'm writing in that scene that you're talking about how I felt privately, about my private reaction.
She seems to not even really comprehend the question. The question itself seems to entirely elude her.
How I felt privately. Right.
But you had you'd acted to help him. Like you admit in the book, you'd acted to help him over the course of the campaign. And so once you realized that he was screwing you over, you didn't.
It was revealed that she helped RFK squash negative press. She had contacts with people in the media and was actively helping to suppress negative stories about him, during their affair.
You didn't take any counteraction. You just let him, right? Walk over you.
You're reading about it now. I lost my job.
He's in there and he's doing a lot of bad stuff. Don't you look at that and think, do you look at that? I guess when you're saying that you have the distance now that have clarity, do you see clearly what he's doing now?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's what was your phrasing? It hasn't been good. I agree with that. I think
that's one way to put it. How come I was able to get the COVID vaccine, by the way? I thought they stopped the FDA guidance for the COVID vaccine for people that were not elderly. Didn't RFK Jr. do that? And yet I was able to get the COVID vaccine from my healthcare provider yesterday. Did it not go into effect yet? Or maybe I misunderstood what they did? I'm elderly. Yeah, I guess it's true. That's good. This guy walked right into that one, to be fair. Yeah.
That's the correct assessment. But you're sort of, I don't really know what to do with the question that you're asking me, because it's
you could just answer it, did you not have any kind of impulse to, or feel any sense of responsibility to do what you could within your power, because you had a unique kind of ability to influence the outcome of the confirmation hearings at that point with the information that you knew about RFK? Did it not occur to you to try to prevent that outcome?
Making a lot of assumptions.
It's not making assumptions. It's just like you said you helped him, right, during the campaign. And
I write about it. I write about what I did wrong. Yeah.
And it's once you've done that, you didn't, there.
What a mess. What a mess of a situation this whole thing was. Wow. What a mess, you guys.
You cease to have become a journalistic actor, and you're.
Well, I lost my job, right? I was fired. Right. I was fired and I was in hiding, and I was afraid.
Scared? Were you scared? Yeah.
I was terrified. Yeah.
What?
The fact that she did this twice is hilarious. Wait, what? What was the first example? She cheated on her husband with another politician. Ooh, that's messy. Mark Sanford? Let me take a look at him. Oh, this was a Republican politician? So wait, when? This is the second time she's had an affair with a subject of an article that she was writing? That seems not great. She couldn't resist Bobby the Bullfrog?
I mean, I write in the book about, I was terrified of the man I did not marry.
You know what though? Here, I'm sounding so judgy, but I was a part of an affair back in my day. I mean, I was a child. In fairness, I was 22 at the time, and I was deep in it. I was working at the Olive Garden, and there was this girl there that I was wildly attracted to. She had a bunch of tattoos and just like looked so fucking cool to me. And but there was always like a safety. Like we would flirt, but there was always like a safety because I knew that she had a fiance, and I never, in my mind, I was not like thinking that we were gonna hook up. And then something changed. One night something changed, and she made it known that, it could go beyond flirting. And so then I was like in an illicit affair with this young woman for several months. I don't know, 4 to 6 months. And I was so deep in it, man. I was like convinced that she was telling me she was going to leave her husband for me. But there was something about that dynamic that was so, I don't know, at the risk of sounding like a bad person, exciting. There was like a danger to it that I had never experienced before in any kind of sexual relationship. There's just something really extraordinary about it. And I got addicted to that whole thing. And I got played, you guys. I got played. She was telling her husband that, or she was telling me she was going to leave her husband to be, and I fucking fully believed her. And then I found out I was not the only side piece. And then I got really upset, which is fucking absurd when you think about it. Like, she was cheating on me. What does that even mean in the context of like, we're having this affair? But then I got crushed. It broke my heart. I'm like, what do you mean? How could you do this? And it's like, in retrospect, it's like, oh, it's pretty obvious how she could, how she could do that. She was playing me the whole time, bro. And it devastated me. But I mean, I kind of get it, I kind of understand. Like, so I'm not gonna judge her too harshly for that. Side note, many years later, I'm working at a different restaurant, and I'm opening the door for guests there was like an outside patio area. And I opened the door for some guests to exit to, like, they were done with their meal and they were going to pass through the restaurant and go into the parking lot and leave or whatever. And I'm holding the door open, and then another couple starts walking up. And so I continue to hold the door open, and I look up, and it's fucking her and him and their baby. And I know that he knows what me and her were doing many, many years ago. And so I'm sitting there holding the door as this, and they pass through, and she's got a look of, she looks horrified and he looks pissed. And I'm like, is this dude gonna fucking, bro, is he gonna fucking punch me? I did wonder, you guys, because she got pregnant a few months after we had last had relations. And I was like doing the math. I was like, oh wait, hold on, what the fuck? And I did the math, and it was like 2 months off. So she would have had to carry our baby to term for like 11 months. But she got pregnant, had a kid with this man that she was cheating on with me for like 6 months before they had that baby. And I felt awful about it in retrospect. I definitely felt bad. Definitely didn't feel great about it. And it was humiliating. It was a humiliating experience. I debased myself in that experience. Wasn't fun. Wouldn't recommend it. Would not recommend doing that. It was awful. It was real fun and exciting in the beginning, and then it wasn't. And then it was like horribly painful. Then you became a liberal. Then I got cheated on like shortly after that. I got cheated on in a really devastating way. I spent months preparing to move to a brand new city. I moved to San Francisco and, you know, upended my entire life. And then 2 months later, the girlfriend that I moved in with started cheating on me. And I was like, what the fuck, man? Really? After I did all that? And it was like, damn, this is karma. Okay. All right. I brought this on myself. Can I even be mad at the guy? I don't know.
You know, I was terrified of the man I did not marry. And I was very worried about people knowing where I was. And
I'm sorry. Tim's like, oh, shit. I didn't think she'd cry.
pause this? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we can pause it.
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
That shit is still fresh for her. People speculate that she's still having an affair. I don't know, but that shit is still fresh for her. Because when was all this? This was, I guess this would have been a year ago, right? No, this would have been less than a year ago. Yeah, that shit is still kind of fresh for her. She's still in her fifis about that. Look at Tim's face right now. Look at this. Doesn't that face say it all right there? Anyone falling for that? I think it's entirely possible that the situation is still recent enough that it would conjure like deep emotional reactions. That's understandable.
Hey guys, at this point in the conversation, we need to take a beat, but then we started her back up. Stick around for the rest of the conversation with Olivia Nuzzi on her book, American Canto.
Nuzzi, that's what.
I mean, a lot of my whole, you know, the last year was just,
Bad decisions, it sounds like. We could say a lot of the last year, some bad decisions.
my whole life was destabilized, right? And it also just, there was, I was not in motion for the first time in really since I was like 18, right? Because I've been working my whole life and I've been, you know, one of the things about being a
She is young, you guys. She's 32 years old. I did my messy affair shit when I was like 22, you know.
political reporter that's so great is that you don't have to justify, the stakes are always apparent, right? Like you never have to think,
What I want to know, because I don't really know, I didn't read her book. I'm not familiar. I didn't read her article that she wrote. Is she accepting any responsibility for her part in that? Because that was a big part of coming to terms with like the affair that I was in, was realizing how I got to a point, I was so mad at this person for not leaving their fiance. I was so heartbroken. I was so mad. I felt so victimized. And then with enough time and some self-reflection, I came to understand that I did all that shit to myself. Like I was making horrible decisions. I was ignoring about 17 red flags. And then at the end of the day, I was like, I couldn't even be mad at her because I offered myself up. You know, I willingly did that to myself. And so I did get to a point where I was like, I fucked up. And I don't know, has she kind of signaled any kind of accountability for herself? Has she acknowledged her own role in what happened? I don't know. To a degree, I sympathize with her. No one should be harassed. And what Liza is doing is so gross, but the core of what is happening to her is from her actions. You know what Liza is doing, and it reminds me of in a way more kind of extreme degree, is do you guys remember what kicked off Gamergate? You guys remember that shit? You guys remember what kicked the whole thing off? There was this independent game developer named Zoe Quinn, and she had a boyfriend who pulled a Mark Zuckerberg, and after they broke up, he wrote a blog article about her, accusing her of like cheating on him, and it's like, dude, you don't need to air people's fucking dirty laundry that way. And what Ryan Lizza is doing is like that on steroids, on crack, because he's not only doing that, but he's like drip feeding pay-gated, paywalled Substack articles, just airing all of that dirty laundry. That is for sure scumbag. Pretty disgusting thing to do. Didn't she say he abused her? I don't know all of the details, but I'm pretty sure she described a a really sick, abusive dynamic they had for sure, where he was manipulating the shit out of her and love bombing her and then just completely ghosting her. And I wonder if RFK's wife has any thoughts on this, or maybe they have an open marriage, or I don't know. But like, that's a whole, I don't know how to explain any of that.
Like, is what I'm doing important? Like, am I, do I have purpose, right? It's inherent to the task. And that's an enormous burden lifted, I think. And then all of a sudden I'm dealing also just with like a lot of things and people I thought that I knew who were, it turned out, not who I thought that they were. And I could not predict behavior.
And Ryan Lizza is 51 years old. I didn't realize that. This guy's 51 years old and he's doing fucking blogging about his ex-girlfriend's affair and just monetizing the shit out of that. He's making so much money off of that Substack stuff. Do you guys have it? He's getting a ton of traffic on the Substack where he's spilling the tea on all this stuff.
Behavior successfully. And I was just scared. Yeah.
Desda, good? I don't know. I think that's really scummy behavior, in my opinion. I don't think you should air people's dirty laundry like that. I definitely don't think you should be monetizing it in the way that he is.
I hear you. And I'm sorry. Because of the stakes is why. No. It's because of the stakes of what you're talking about that I'm like, I'm sticking with this. That's why
you can ask whatever. Yeah.
And so I just like, you said you left, you're in hiding.
I didn't say she's a perfect person. I'm not defending her actions, but I'm also not judging her too harshly because, again, I mean, it's not very comparable. You know, me having an affair with a bartender at the Olive Garden maybe is not the same. When I was 22 years old is maybe not the same thing as like a journalist having an affair with RFK Jr. in 2024. But what she did, I don't think that makes what Ryan Lizza's doing okay. I think what he's doing is still very scummy.
You're scared. Again, he's a man of huge responsibility right now. Like if there's another public health crisis, he's in charge. I'm just trying to just ask directly, like, were you scared of him? Like, were you scared of Bobby?
I mean, it's dangerous for a woman to keep any kind of diary, generally speaking. I think history has shown that.
Kennedy history has shown that also.
Kennedy himself, if you don't understand that reference, kept an extensive diary of his sexual conquests. That's a disgusting way of putting it. Of his extramarital sexual relationships that he had with his first wife. And then she found it and it was like over 100 women that he had sex with. And he kept a strict, that to me is that's a red flag. Keeping a diary of all the women that you've had sex with. That's very strange to me. Yeah. Did he rank them too? Ew. I can't explain why. I can't articulate why. I'd have to think about it, but there's something about that that's so ew. Like keeping that kind of a detailed record.
I was just scared in general, and I felt like I felt very vulnerable in general, and it was very clear to me by the time I made it out here that no one was going to protect me, right? That it seemed as though no one really had any boundaries as it related to utilizing me or brutalizing me for their own benefit. And it seems recent events suggest that that's still the case. And so I was scared in general. And
women, am I right? Chat, behave. Jesus.
It was a strange time, I mean, I also think I take over, it's your criticism that I don't come out, guns blazing.
That's another part of this story too, that adds a whole other element of danger, I guess, like, I think it is appropriate and rational for maybe someone like her to literally fear for her own life, were she to, come forward with this stuff. at minimum fear some kind of retaliation.
In this book is fair, and if that's totally legitimate, that's your reaction. But writing about this at all is an enormous risk that I've assumed. And I realized that there's a certain faction or many factions of people who are just never going to be happy with anything that I do, right?
Sure.
And that's fine. But I could have just not said anything, right? I could have not told you about my experience here. It's not going to make me look good.
I don't know. I have a little bit of sympathy for her, to be honest with you. I'm not saying she did a good thing or made good decisions, but to have her, ex-fiance blasting out all these details is pretty gross to me.